none of this would be legal without USARK.
All right.
Let me know when we're going to start.
Okay.
Anytime you want.
We're going to start.
If you're ready, let's go.
All right.
Let me know when you're ready.
Got it.
You ready? B-roll.
Go. Oh, okay, yeah. Hello and welcome to the USARK official YouTube channel. I'm Ron Funk and I have with me the president of USARK, Phil Goss. Today we have a very special guest with us. He's a world-renowned reptile enthusiast, filmmaker, and YouTube sensation known for his captivating documentaries and adventures that bring the fascinating world of reptiles to life. With a deep passion for herpetoculture, I almost said that right.
You nailed it.
Yeah, and a commitment to conservation, he has traveled the globe to share the stories of these incredible creatures and the people who dedicate their lives to them. Please join me in welcoming the one and only Dāv Kaufman.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, we're really glad to have you. Thank you for giving us a few minutes here at the LA Pet Fair.
Yeah, it's no
just
longer the reptile super show. It's the massive fish, bird, aardvark, armadillo.
Are there armadillos? Was there a singular event or combination of events in your life that has driven you to become the person you are?
Oh, tons. And I think that's the story for everybody. I mean, there's events that happen that will tell you to the next event, and it shapes who you are. But, if I had to pinpoint one, it was when I was 9 years old and I caught a garter snake in my front yard, and my parents let me keep it, and I was absolutely fascinated by it. I grew up in Minnesota, and we have 17 species of snakes in Minnesota. And at the time, I thought we had that garter snake, and then I got a field guide that showed all the different snakes that we had in Minnesota, and I went on this quest to go find every one of them. And it took me another 20 years to find them all, but I did. But that's basically the event, the catalyst that launched everything.
And you named it Sparrow.
I named it Sparrow. How did you know that?
Yeah, I did my research.
Dang, I don't think I ever... You are a lawyer.
He's not just he's a good attorney.
That's right. Hey.
What's your greatest strength?
My greatest strength is just being driven. Being driven to not do the same thing over and over again, but try to push that envelope in. And I challenge myself constantly. Like, if I conceive the idea, I must see it through to completion. And it's an awesome thing, and it's a dangerous thing at the same time.
So you've got Dave's Reptile Adventures.
Right, so Dāv Kaufman's Reptile Adventures, Dāv Kaufman's Adventures, which is like all over adventures. So everything from ghost hunting to urban explorations and zoo tours to everything that's on Dāv Kaufman's Adventures.
Ghost hunting.
Ghost hunting,
Okay,
yes.
we gotta talk.
Yeah. Haven't been on one in a long time, but I gotta do more. And then there's Dāv Kaufman's Fishing Adventures. When I started that channel, I didn't take into consideration two things. One, everybody with a fishing rod and a GoPro has a YouTube channel. Two, you kind of actually have to catch fish in order to make fishing videos. And then my brand new one is Dāv Kaufman Eats the World, which is thankfully skyrocketing. Where, when I travel the world, I don't want to eat at McDonald's. I don't want to eat at the corporate feed bag. As a matter of fact, I will drive miles out of my way to avoid the corporate feed bags because I want to immerse myself in that culture. I want to eat where the locals eat. I want to sample the food that is indigenous to that region that I'm at. And one day I just woke up and I was like, why aren't you filming this?
What places have you traveled to for herping? I know it's a lot, but what's your favorite? Or some of your favorites?
Boy, oh boy, Madagascar was as amazing as you can imagine it was. That was a year and a half ago. So New Caledonia was pretty amazing because we were finding things that, and seeing things that we never thought that we would see in the wild. Like, and we don't know if this is exactly what we were looking at, but we found 2 Leachianus eggs on the ground, and right next to it, a male Leachianus seemed to be guarding those eggs. So we saw a Leachianus on one of the islands about this big, eating a katydid about that big. And so we were seeing all of this stuff that we just didn't think Leachianas did, or crested geckos did, or any of the other geckos, like the papaya geckos that are out there. We were the only ones who actually herped overnight on one specific island. We went from, it's like driving deer. You all spread out and you cover the entire island to see what you can find. We were seeing sea crates, which are a species of sea snake, hunting in the trees. So we were seeing all this behavior that it just kind of blew our minds. And so that place was incredible.
Well, in the United States, other than Minnesota.
Other than Minnesota. The Chiricahuas in southern Arizona during the monsoons. Every little critter comes from. That's pretty cool.
Always wanted to see a Gila monster in there.
Yeah, I've seen one. But Kansas and Maine.
Kansas?
Yep. And nobody thinks about Kansas as being a herping mecca, but it is, because you've got all the northern species, that their southern extent of their range is in Kansas, all the southern species, the northern extent of their range is in Kansas, and the same with east and west. And they all kind of pop right there in Kansas.
You mentioned in your ball python movie, Invisible Ark.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
Dave and Tracy Barker coined this phrase. They actually wrote a book about it, and it is probably the most true and profound statement that they could have made. Our habitats in the wild are disappearing. We are putting pesticides and herbicides and all of these poisons into our environment that is literally destroying the food chain. When we think about conservation, all we do is save forests, and we say, wow, we've done a good job. Well, yeah, you're saving the forest, but you're not saving the animals within that forest. So basically, you're creating a haven for plants, but all the animals, you're not taking that extra step to say, ban those pesticides, to kill off all the insects that is destroying the food chain. And that food chain will literally climb all the way from the lowest part of the food chain all the way up to us. And so what the Invisible Ark is it's creating what we have here, creating what we have in agriculture. Pretty soon, unfortunately, a lot of the species of reptiles that you see in here are only going to exist in our collections, in our homes, in zoos, because they will be extinct. The wild will not be able to sustain the population of reptiles and other animals out there, simply because we have depleted that food chain. And I see it every single year. 10 years ago, we would have 1 million toads in our front yard. This year I've seen one. And it's because we are spraying for mosquitoes, we're spraying for other insects. All the farms are spraying for their pesticides on food that we eat. And it is literally slowly but surely destroying that whole world.
And Phil, that's part of USARK's role, is to help build that Invisible Ark and help conservation efforts.
Absolutely. I mean, Dave touched on a lot of things. Another problem is, especially in the U.S., there is no more wild. There's no argument about it, because every animal, even if we preserve a forest, it's still captive to the roads.
You're right.
And animals don't understand that they have to stay in that forest, especially with turtles. A lot of animals are moved to lay eggs or breed. They cross roads, and there is no wild because every little preservation of wild acreage is surrounded by roadways. And the animals are going to cross those roads, they're going to get hit. You see it, especially in Florida. Oh my goodness, they're trying to bring back forest panthers. And there's road kills every year, panthers, and like I said, turtles, snakes, and all that stuff. Amphibians are crossing the road. You just get crushed, especially during salamander migrations. I mean, there's places you can go and find literally hundreds of dead salamanders every night because they're getting run over on the road. And yeah, unfortunately for a lot of these species, it may not be next year, but in 10 and 20 years, there's going to be no more natural range for the animals, whether we like it or not. A lot of people don't want to admit it. And some of these animals, the only place you're going to be able to see them is being kept like humans.
Correct.
What's your favorite memory from a herping trip? Either for your videos or just in general?
Oh, so many. I mean, just so many. Finding my first anaconda in Suriname 3 months ago. What it took to actually get him. That terror skink stands out. Finding Egyptian cobras in the southern deserts of Israel. There's just so many. There's so many. And thankfully, I've got this YouTube channel where I can put all of those really awesome experiences for everybody to, watch.
It's a good, YouTube is a good excuse for you to go out and go looking at it.
That's exactly right. I was like, wow, this is an expensive hobby. How do I get paid for this? Aha! It didn't happen.
Also about filming the terror skink.
Oh, man. If there was one herpetological event in my entire career that stands out, it's the terror skink. So the terror skink is only found on one specific island in New Caledonia. And previous to us going there, I think there was maybe only 5 individual living specimens ever found by Western science. We found number 6. And I can't even describe holding this extremely rare lizard in your hand. It looks like a cross between a monitor lizard and a skink. It acts like a monitor lizard. And just to know that one of your target species that you're not even, that's not even on your radar. It's like, gee, I hope we find this. So much so that you didn't even put it on your wish list because you never thought you'd find it. And then to be holding it was just incredible.
You were the first to ever film it.
I was the first to ever film it in 4K. Yep. And I still have that footage. One of the new directions that I'm going to take the channel, we're going to be revisiting the entire trip.
What species of snake do you think is not widely, or do you believe is not widely bred that you think it should be?
So that's an interesting question, and I'm going to say most colubrids, because before the ball python craze in the late 90s, we basically, all of us herpers before the ball python craze, diversity was the name of the game, and diversity in colubrids, so all the corn snake morphs, all the California king snake morphs, et cetera, et cetera. That is, if you had diversity on your table, that's what set you apart from the breeder next to you. And the ball python craze happened, and we're getting back into colubrids now. But because of that ball python craze, I think that a lot of those really cool genes that we had are lost.
I remember coming to, I don't know if it was Pomona, it may have been in Anaheim in the 90s before the ball python. What is it? I was just fascinated by the king snakes.
Yep.
That was my favorite because I grew up partially in Glendora, California, here, right in the foothills. We used to go up with my friends and try to catch snakes, catching a king snake, finding a king snake.
Yep.
One of the greatest things for me. Yeah, those were great.
I think a lot of people forgot about how popular colubrids are because just 6-7 years ago, a lot of the colubrids that were only $50 to $75, now they're $500, $600, $700 because people kind of moved away from them. Didn't realize that demand was there, and the demand is huge, and now there's not enough supply to meet the demand. So
Mexican black sea snakes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What do you believe is the importance of USARK?
That could be an entire podcast. I want people out there watching this to understand that none of this would be legal without USARK. And specifically the work that Phil does. If it wasn't for USARK and the work that Phil does, those laws would have slipped in, they would have been paperclipped to other laws, and they would have banned all reptile keeping in this country, and none of this, your bearded dragon, your corn snake, your ball python, even if you only have one as a pet and keep it in an apartment, that would be illegal at this point if it wasn't for USARK and for Phil. And that is the truest statement that I can say. And I don't think enough people understand that.
I concur.
Can I have my money now?
All right, we're already rested states.
That's right.